What up, what up? This is Ace the OG, back with another topic, back with another video. Thanks again to all subscribe to the channel. I endeavor to keep pushing this video out, get leverage, the better yourselves. So the topic of this video is Kamala Harris's running mate, Tim Walz, a coward? So let's get into it. So, is this true that I think he's a governor now? Governor Tim Walz is a coward. So let me go ahead and go to this article here, if I can pull it up. I'm sorry, his name is Walz, so W-A-L-Z, right? So if nobody knows this particular gentleman, he's a Minnesota governor. Kamala Harris chose him to be her running mate for vice president during this election year, right? So of course, smear campaigns all over the place. As soon as he was nominated, a whole bunch of folks probably attacking him, probably start, throwing spitballs and mud and all these other things or whatever. So personally, I don't believe in smear campaigns. But that's just politics. Politics is just dirty, right? But regardless of whether I, agree with a politician, or I agree or disagree with a party, does not matter. That hating stuff when it comes to folks trying to dig into the closet and pull out skeletons from 100 years ago to try to make you look bad. That's a lame tactic to me. You know what I'm saying? Because basically what you're telling me is that you can't win something off your own strength. You got to go ahead and talk bad about somebody, to get ahead. I think that's real lame. That's just me. You know what I'm saying? But anyways, politics is politics. We can't change it. And just like they're smearing Kamala Harris, is like they're smearing Donald Trump. They're gonna smear him too, right? So this is an article that I read yesterday from the New York Post. I'm gonna read it to you, and then I'm going to give my own opinion on the situation because, of course, I did 20 years in the Army, and he was in the Army, in the National Guard. I'm going to give my own personal insight as to what I believe and what I think about this, right? So the New York Post, the actual title says Tim Walz left National Guard battalion, in quotations, hanging, and then in quotations, slithered out the door before Iraq deployment vets. So basically what they're saying is there's some folks that was, I guess, in his battalion are confirming that this happened, or they're saying this happened, right? So it reads, veterans have accused Minnesota Governor Tim Walz embellishing meaning that he kind of trumped up, no pun intended, his career. Basically, he said a whole bunch of things that were basically hyping his career up more than what it should be. That's what I guess they're trying to get at here. His military career and abandoning his National Guard battalion, highlighting that the now vice presidential pick for the Democrats never served in combat and retired from service ahead of his unit's 2005 deployment to Iraq. So what they're pretty much saying is that he probably retired either early 2005 or in 2004. And they're saying that basically he dropped his retirement papers before they deployed, but he knew they were deploying, right? So that's problematic because if he knew they were deploying, and he decided to retire during that time, that could be kind of problematic. I'm not even going front. That could be problematic. But anyways, let's move on. So in a letter posted to Facebook in 2018. So I only assume that in 2018 is when he was trying to go for some political position, and some folks came out and started saying some stuff. So this wasn't just said a couple weeks ago. This was said back in 2018. Like I said, in a letter posted to Facebook in 2018, as he first ran for governor. Okay, so he was running for governor. That's the reason why these folks came out the woodworks. Retired Command Sergeant Major Thomas Behrens, I hope I pronounced his name right, and Paul Herr said Walz retired from his 24-year tenure in the National Guard after learning that his battalion would be deployed to Iraq, despite allegedly assuring his fellow troops he would join them. That's crazy, because if he told his soldiers, his troops, that he was going, and then all of a sudden he just bounced and retired, yeah, that's crazy. On May 16, 2005, Walz quit, betraying his. This is in quotations. On May 16, 2005, Walz quit, betraying his country, leaving the 1 and 125th Field Artillery Battalion and its soldiers hanging, without his senior non-commissioned officer as the battalion prepared for war, Behrens and Hurd wrote. Walz, 60, wrapped his military career just in time for him to launch his political career the following year, successfully running for Congress in 2006. And then, let's see, Behrens and Hurd criticized him for leaving the National Guard for Congress, despite being fully aware that he could have requested permission from the Pentagon to seek office while on active duty. So basically what they're saying is that, I guess maybe he made an excuse that he had to retire in order to go for Congress. But because, National Guard is basically you're like a kind of like a once a month soldier or weekend soldier. I hate to coin that term because you're a soldier 24/7. But in other words, you're not at work in a uniform every single day in the National Guard, right? You have what's called drill weekend, and basically you're not in uniform the whole month. You're in uniform a couple of days a month, right? So basically, a lot of National Guard folks, they have a 9-to-5 job, and then they train and they go to work in uniform on the weekends. Walz further dodged the necessary paperwork to ensure a smooth transition out of the military service, and instead, in quotation, slithered out the door, the pair added, with his retirement filing showing soldier not available for signature. That's crazy too. So there's a situation in my career twice where I was not available to sign an evaluation of my career. Basically, my time there basically is like a report card. If folks in the military don't understand what I'm talking about, so every year, every 6 months, or whatever interval it will be, depending on if your supervisor changes out or not. Once you become an enlisted non-commissioned officer, you get an evaluation, and basically there's been a couple times in my career where either I was in training or I was deployed and I wasn't physically at the company or the battalion to sign my NCOR, right? So basically I told my supervisor, hey, I don't want my evaluation to be late. So basically what they did was they typed in service member not available for signature, right? But that was under extreme circumstances. That's not something you want to do because it looks kind of bad with the board when you do stuff like that. But that's another story if anybody want to know about how the military works when it comes to that, right? But these are retirement papers he's talking about, right? As far as like him not being available for signature. Now, I can't imagine a situation to where somebody's retiring is not available because you're retiring. What the hell do you got to do? You know what I'm saying? If anything, I would be fighting to get down to where I need to get to, where my paperwork is at, and fill out everything to make sure that they get me out of there. When I was retiring, I was at every appointment 20 minutes early. I was listening with ears up, making sure that I ain't missed nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was ready to go. I'm not saying I didn't like the Army. I'm just saying, like, once it was time for me to retire, like, I made sure that nothing was going to hold me back from retiring. Nothing was going to hold me back from getting my retirement check and all these other things, all these incentives that I was owed doing 20 years of service. You know what I'm saying? So I wasn't playing around with that. So for me to think that he, for whatever reason, wasn't available to sign his paperwork and he was retiring, that doesn't sound right, y'all. That really doesn't. Let's move on. The National Guard members also accused now two-term Minnesota governor of having embellished, in quotations, embellished and selectively omitted facts of his military career for years. Still, Walz say he has an honorable record, and other service members who led the same battalion have defended him. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, it doesn't go into more in depth as far as like, as far as they're saying that he, abandoned his post or abandoned his unit that was deploying. It just kind of goes over some of the things he said or whatever. So that's kind of immaterial to the video. Not to say I'm trying to make this guy look bad by not going through the whole article, but the whole gist of this video is to see give an opinion of whether he intentionally retired to avoid getting deployed or not. I can't really say, you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I have seen this happen before. So for one, let's go back a little bit. So this is 2005 they're talking about, right? So 2005 was nothing nice, y'all. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know how young some of my viewers are right now that's watching this video. But, you know, if you're in your 20s, I'm telling you right now, you don't really understand the full effect and the full concept of how the war was back then, right? You're just way too young to understand. Folks that was not even in the military, that are my age or maybe a little bit younger or older than me, understands how bad it was in 2005. You know what I'm saying? Like, we had just invaded 2 years before in 2003. You still had vehicles that were soft tops, meaning that they weren't up armored. So, and you know, the Taliban and you know, a couple other Iraqis and Afghanis that, you know, that were in these so-called terrorist groups. You know what I'm saying? That's all into interpretation. These guys would land down IEDs, blowing vehicles up, blowing soldiers up. You had suicide bombers, you know what I'm saying? They were driving their cars into gates and blowing themselves up with like tons of TNT in the back of their vehicles. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was nothing nice. These folks didn't care. You know what I'm saying? They were going to take you out regardless, whether they died or not. They were trying to take soldiers out. And I know for myself, I was in the field artillery unit in 2004 in Germany. And they had already deployed when I got this. I was on Rear D. So I didn't deploy with them. And then I wound up leaving before the next cycle came on. But myself, I deployed 3 times in my career. The first time I deployed was in 2007. I was in Kuwait, and then I went over the border to Iraq a couple of times during that whole year I was there. And you know that's all to say that, like, I would say from 2004 to maybe 2010, 2011, like, it was scary as hell to get deployed. It really was. You know what I'm saying? You know, as a soldier, I had a duty and an obligation to deploy. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't going to be a coward and just be like, you know what, I'm just not going to go. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't have no choice. But, you know, at the end of the day, you know, my training kicked in a lot of times when I was over there or whatever, and I was able to fight through any kind of fears or any type of apprehensions I had when I was over there. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, I had soldiers that I was going over there with, and I had a responsibility to them to make sure they got home, and then I got home as well, right? So to think that a command sergeant major who is an E9, I'm talking about Tim Walz here, because E9, a command sergeant major, is the highest enlisted rank you can have in the Army, as far as like enlisted rank. So basically, you know, like let's say for example, with the National Guard unit, with him maybe being the senior enlisted soldier there, it might have been like 150 soldiers roughly that he was in charge of. And these two command sergeant majors that are talking about him in 2018 are saying that he told his unit that he was going to go and deploy with them. And for folks that also don't understand how the war was going on during that time, in 2005, you know what I'm saying, like, you know, like a lot of soldiers were dying. A lot of soldiers were getting injured, you know what I'm saying, getting maimed, all these other things. So they depended on the National Guard and the reserves to backfill a lot of active duty soldiers, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, these National Guardsmen who probably had never seen combat before in their lives basically probably felt abandoned by the senior enlisted soldier that was over them when they went over there, you know what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure somebody stepped in to take his place, but it's nothing like having, like, you know, your actual command sergeant major going over there with you, you know what I'm saying? And if this is what really happened, you know, we don't know, you know what I'm saying? Like, we wasn't there. It's a long time ago, so we don't know. But what I would say is that these soldiers wound up saying this in 2018 when he was running for governor. So for one, you got to take that into account. This is not something that these folks are saying right now because he's specifically has been counted as the vice president candidate. They said this when he was going for governor, right, for the state of Minnesota. So you also got to think about from this aspect, what did they have to gain by lying on this guy? They were in his unit. They were command sergeant majors along with him. You know what I'm saying? So basically, these two individuals that's talking about him in this article were his peers. So they know this guy, right? So, in my opinion, being a soldier, for two E9s to talk like this about another E9 is like, it's almost unheard of. You know what I'm saying? Like, It's one of those sayings like, as lonely when you get to the top. That's real in the military. You know what I'm saying? Like the higher rank you get in the military, the lonelier it gets. You know what I'm saying? So these three command sergeant majors were peers. I'm not saying they might have been friends. I'm just saying, like, these are individuals or whatever that basically they're all they had. These was the only folks that could like bounce ideas off of, because everybody else that was enlisted in that unit were below them. They were lower rank. These were the top tier NCOs in the whole battalion, right? So I'm just saying, y'all, you know what I'm saying? Like, for these two command sergeant majors to talk bad about this guy, I really don't see any reason why they would do this for any type of personal gain. There's no personal gain that they have by saying something like this. They said this basically, in my opinion, because they felt like this guy was a coward and he wasn't worthy to be a governor of a state. This is what my interpretation is of this. You know what I'm saying? And we can't say for sure if that's the case, but I'm thinking logically from this point, and I'm thinking, like, if there's really no reason for them to have any personal gain by saying this, I can only assume this is true. So now, if this is the case and this gentleman literally retired in lieu of deploying and basically abandoned his soldiers, and basically watch the soldiers get deployed over to Iraq during one of the deadliest times you can go over there. 2005 was no joke, y'all. I can't put any more emphasis on that. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is really, when the war had first started off, like, there was no infrastructure over there. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was bad. It was really bad. You know what I'm saying? And I told my soldiers that been under me, during the time that the war was going on when it first started off. I mean, like, y'all like the second greatest generation, because you guys intentionally enlisted in the military to join, knowing you was going to war. I joined in '98. There was no war going on during that time, y'all. You know what I'm saying? But I will say, by the time the war started, I was already a sergeant in the Army. So, like I said, training kicked in. I wasn't going to just not go. You know what I'm saying? They told me to go. I'm packed my bags and I'm out. You know what I'm saying? But this is the guy that was in the military for 24 years. Now, I'm pretty sure that he actually, had a very honorable career up until the 24 years. But if this is true what these guys said, that's a pretty big stain on the 24-year career. It really is, because with war going on during that time, war sometimes is a culmination of a career when it comes to service members. And if he intentionally did not go because he was scared, because he was a coward, then that's not really a person that should be in any type of political office, let alone the vice president of the United States. I'm just saying, y'all. It's not me trying to make a smear campaign against this guy. You know what I'm saying? They dug this stuff up because they're saying that, that this is what these folks said years ago. And they're trying to give people basically trying to give these folks a clear picture of who this guy really is. And then they made the determination of who they should endorse and who they should vote for when it comes to, the vice presidency. And then also with Kamala Harris actually picking this guy, did he vet him before she chose him as a running mate? So it's up to y'all to decide. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just a crazy situation, y'all. You know what I'm saying? But I know for myself, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, I can't talk about him. I can't speak about him. I don't know him or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? But if this is true, then this guy's a yellow belly, straight up. And if he's a yellow belly, no yellow belly should be they should be a person that should be in any type of political office, let alone the vice president of the United States. That's my opinion. But y'all drop your comments in the comments below, and please let me know what you guys think about this. It's a crazy situation, you know what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure some more information to be put out there as time goes on. But it's a crazy election year, y'all. You know what I'm saying? So we got to stay prayed up. We have to ask God for discernment as to who we're going to vote for, because, this is a very critical election for us. And we really need to have some folks in office that are going to do something good for the United States, because we ain't looking too good, y'all. We really ain't, you know what I'm saying? So we need to stay prayed up. So you want me to discuss a topic or subject that you think is beneficial to the channel, email me at findingfitnessfolk@gmail.com. My email address is in the description below. AceOG, signing out. I'm gone.